Hi everybody and welcome to my live. I have to do it differently because the Wi-Fi has been going in and out due to the weather. So I am streaming this. It is all stream recorded, one shot. I'm just recording it and then I'll upload it. That's the only way I could get it to work so far, where my audio is not chipping in and out. But yeah, today I want to talk about something that's currently ongoing, that has been kind of devastating over the past few weeks, especially in America, particularly on the West Coast, and that is the LA fires. So this year's, it's literally the first month of the year, and this year's first wildfire embers pretty much just, it was just a combination of all things that could go bad, go worse, all things that could make it extreme. It all happened. It was like the perfect little setup. And pretty much those wildfire embers went all throughout the air over Los Angeles. We even had firenadoes, which if I can find a video later on, I will find it. But pretty much the wildfires were carried by hurricane-level Santa Ana winds, the drought that was going on, and thus we have one of the deadliest wildfires California has ever seen. Now, some of the people involved in handling and trying to put down this wildfire is, of course, the Los Angeles County Fire Department. They have 29 fire departments. They are all put out, and they have admitted themselves that they do not have enough personnel to handle these fires. And then we have the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, which deployed around 939 incarcerated firefighters. And to note, these guys are not untrained. They trained through the California Conservation Camp program and worked along professional firefighters. So they are well trained in everything. Now, I have some images up right now, and we're going to kind of go through a little timeline of how everything came to happen. So the windstorm and the resulting fire danger was well forecasted. On January 2nd, the National Interagency Fire Center warned that conditions in Southern California fostered above normal significant fire potential, and National Weather Service forecasted noted that potential for intense fires expected around January 3rd. The Storm Prediction Center, I messed that up. On January 3rd, so roughly 4 or 5 days before the fires happened, the Storm Prediction Center forecasted a critical, then changed it later on in the day to extreme risk of fire weather, and that was expected for January 8th, which is the day after the wildfire started. And just to correct myself, on January 2nd, the National Interagency Fire Center warned that conditions in Southern California forecasted above normal significant fire potential, and then the National Weather Service also forecasted the same thing. Now, there was like air quality prior, or like around the beginning of this, especially throughout this whole thing, it is set at very unhealthy. The air quality index readings is over 200, which, to be honest, I have to look into more, but pretty much people in LA, they can suffer from burning eyes, feeling like your eyes are dry, they're irritated, a whole bunch of irritation due to the concentrated smoke, and that is going on. And then the ongoing series of catastrophic wildfires pretty much have affected the Los Angeles metropolitan area and the surrounding regions. Some places have reached around, like, especially with the winds, some places, due to the Santa Ana winds, have reached anywhere between 80 to 100 miles per hour, and in kilometers, that's around 160 miles per hour. And then on top of that, there is low humidity, and then there's drought conditions. Apparently, these last 9 months in California have been the driest 9-month period on record. Now, if you guys don't know, one of the easiest ways to build a fire, let's say you're doing a campfire, is to use dry materials. So for instance, you want wood that isn't freshly cut, because freshly cut wood tends to have a bit water left into it. You want wood that has been dried out, that's been cut maybe a day or two minimum before and has had time to dry out, because it's going to catch fire easily. Whereas if you have something that's wet, like let's say a wet leaf versus a dry leaf, that wet leaf is going to smoke more than it's going to cause a fire. So let me bring up the map so you can see pretty much where these fires are. I'm going to just zoom out a bit, and I think, okay, let's make it just a little bit smaller. So this is part of LA. I'll actually zoom out. It's really kind of in that middle bottom part of California. But here we go. Okay. This is the area right here where we are really focusing on. As you can see, there's two very, very big fires, the Palisades and Eaton fire. And we're going to get into that, but those two are so far the most devastating fires overall. Now, on January 7th, this is day one, how it started. In the morning, the reported wind speeds were about 84 miles per hour in Santa Clarita to about 55 miles per hour by the Van Nuys Airport. And due to these significant winds and then the risk of fire weather, the city of Los Angeles declared a state of emergency in anticipation of those winds. Now, if that's where it started, let's say roughly 84 miles per hour, and it goes up to, like, so far it seems a max of 100, guys, that's enough to blow you away. And then by midday, right, midday on January 7th, more than 20,000 people were without power. So Southern California Edison, the electric company, shut power down to certain areas to reduce chance of an electrical fire. So for instance, let's imagine, you ever seen in the movies where, like, the electric poles will fly off somewhere or something, and then it'll hit something, and, you know, or it'll go into a puddle, and people are like, don't go in that puddle because the electric's going to go through it, or it'll hit a tree and that tree turns fire. So pretty much they were like, let's try to prevent causing a fire. So about 20,000 were without power. And then at that time, Governor Gavin Newsom, California governor, deployed the California National Guard. By evening time, right, it was... And the fires, I will get into, like, specifically with Palisades fire, when it started. A lot of these fires did start in the morning. That's why during midday so many people were without power, because of these fires and because of these winds. Now, by evening, around 6:19 p.m., it was reported that the windstorm could become Southern California's strongest wind event of 2025. So not only are you dealing with what is potentially or officially the strongest wind event in California, you are also dealing with the driest 9-month period in California. And then you're also dealing with the Santa Ana winds from the hurricane. So it's literally like a concoction of the worst of the worst, which is why these things and why it's spread and becomes so hard. So the fires that started, and there is a few, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's about 9 fires that started on January 7th. That's the most fires started, and there's new fires popping up. There's the Riverside fire, which was in San Bernardino County. It was only 1 acre. It was contained same day. Sunset fire in Los Angeles. in the Los Angeles area was about 1.5 acres. Then we have one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fire that's going on, which is the Palisades fire in Los Angeles. And that one has, as of yesterday, to my knowledge, is over 23,700 acres. And it has destroyed or damaged around 5,300 structures. It's ongoing, and of all the fires that are going on now, this one is the least contained. As of yesterday, January 15th, only 19% of that fire has been contained. Everything else is just running amok. And this fire specifically was reported at 10:30 a.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. And then within 20 minutes, it grew from 20 acres to around 200 acres. By 2:10 p.m. in midday, it grew to 1,262 acres. And by 12 a.m. the next morning, it was 2,921 acres. It is now over 23,000 acres. So that's this one right here, this Palisades fire. And as you can see, it's grown and grown and grown. This is the one that you are actually seeing the most on the news, on TikTok, on wherever, on every single news station. Now, another fire that happened was the Gulch fire in Los Angeles. That was only 1 acre. The next was King's fire, Los Angeles as well, 1 acre. And then the next biggest fire also started on that day. That's the Eaton fire. And that was also Los Angeles area. And as of now, it has been over 14,100 acres. It has damaged around 7,081 structures were damaged or destroyed. And this one being the second biggest fire, only 45% of it was contained by yesterday, January 15th. So almost halfway. There was also the Huntington fire in Los Angeles, which was only 2 acres. And then the Burt fire, which is Los Angeles County, which is 3 acres. And then the third biggest fire that everybody is aware of, and this is part of the big 3 for the fires, which is the Hearst fire, which is, it's small here now, and I'll explain why. But the Hearst fire, it was also Los Angeles County. It was about 799, around 800 acres. The true damage to that area is not 100% known, but as of yesterday, January 15th, 97% of that fire was contained. So that was the third biggest fire. These are the ones that started on January 7th. Now, on January 8th, these total fires have burned more than 17,000 acres. And by now, on January 8th, around 414,000 families, 1,000 customers of Edison, 1,000 homes were without power. And 454,000 are under public safety power under a public safety power shutoff program watch, meaning, as I said, some of the people, their power was turned off by Southern California Edison, so that way there is no risk of an electrical fire. And by the way, electrical fire you cannot put out with water. I believe you do have to use like a fire extinguisher for that. Now, there became an issue during January 8th that probably was not precedented, not expected, and really does cause a lot of concern. So that issue that happened on January 8th, hold on, I'm just going to move this up so you guys could see, was that all 3 water tanks in the Pacific Palisades, which were supposedly filled to capacity, which is around 1 million U.S. gallons each. So there's 3 1 million U.S. gallons of water, and they were all exhausted by early morning, January 8th, meaning they had no water reservoirs to handle this, to take care of this, which is why you see a lot of planes doing what they're doing, where they're going into the water from the sea. And very fortunately, a lot of these fires, especially the Palisades fire, as you can see, is right by the sea. So fire hydrants as well had little to no water flow and went dry by around 3 a.m. that morning. So not even a full 24 hours before the first fire broke out, they were already running out of water in the fire hydrants. Now, since then, President Biden at that time ordered the Department of Defense to provide firefighting personnel and equipment. So think people that were sent out, the U.S. Navy helicopters were sent from San Diego, Nevada National Guard and United States Forest Service sent fire engines. Firefighters were arriving from other states, 60 teams from Oregon, 45 from Washington State, 15 from Utah, 10 from New Mexico, and Arizona also sent, but I haven't been able to find the numbers for that. The Canadian government, as well as other countries, also sent people. The Canadian government pledged their support, and they offered equipment, planes, and personnel. Now, I want to say that's the end of these fires. Sorry. But on January 8th, more fires started to sprout, and actually over the next couple days, new fires also sprouted. So we have the Tyler fire, which is in Riverside, which was about 15 acres. Scout fire, Riverside as well, which was 12 acres. And then we had the Woodley fire in LA, 30 acres. Olivas fire in Ventura Country, 11 acres. Lydia fire in LA, 395 acres. And of the fires that started on January 8th, which is the second day of the wildfires, this one, the Lydia one, took about 3 days to contain. Every other fire was either contained same day or maybe the following day, aside from the ones that I have mentioned are still ongoing. Sunset fire also happened on the 8th, which is LA as well, 43 acres. That one ended the next day. And then Sunswept fire in LA, which was about 0.5 acres. And then Taft in Orange County, which is around 1 acre. Now, on January 9th, which is day 3 of the fires, a drone illegally operating in the restricted airspace collided with a super scooper firefighting aircraft. Those are the ones where they go into the water, collect, like the pilots, they have to go very close to the water, collect the water, and then come up, and then those are the ones you see like releasing all the water over everything. And because of this drone illegally operating in a restricted airspace, the drone ended up putting a hole in the wing of that plane, and that plane had to land. And that plane, of course, with the hole in its wing, is no longer usable. And one of the problems with this is they're already working with limited resources. You just took down a plane. That plane could have helped to add water, but now people have to make extra trips to make up for that plane. And to note, there were other drones also in the restricted airspace, and I'll say this, most likely the people who are using these drones are probably people who are streaming or just taking it for content purposes to say this or that. I would say if that's something you want to do, just be mindful of the fact that these people are trying to save lives, save homes, save animals, everything. So do not get in their way, you know? Be a bit respectful and mindful about your equipment and how it could affect life-saving personnel and aircraft vehicles or whatever. Now, on January 9th, due to the excessive looting, and it's unfortunate that people do try to take advantage of unfortunate situations, but due to looting, there was a curfew implemented from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. with a $1,000 fine and potential jail time. I'm actually going to get into how many people have been arrested from looting, but more towards the end of this because it's a lot going on, guys. It's so much. But yeah, looting during this time, I think the scary thing for me about the curfew, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., is like if the fires get close or anything like that, or people are packing to try to leave and they're planning on leaving after 6 p.m. or within that time, they're going to be hit with something that is only going to make life difficult. So the fires that happened, there's 4 fires that happened on January 9th. It's the Cantu fire in Riverside, Creek fire in Los Angeles. This one is ongoing, and it's somewhere in this area. It's ongoing, but it's about 90% contained as of yesterday, January 15th. So that one is almost handled. That's probably why it's not fully showing on the map. And then we have the Kenneth fire, which is in LA Ventura area, and that one was about 1,052 acres. And then we have the commercial fire in San Bernardino, which was only 1 acre. On January 10th, move this around. On January 10th, it was just the Archer fire that started in LA, which was only 19 acres. January 11th, we had the Briar fire in San Bernardino, which was 9 acres. And by January 12th, Mexican firefighters arrived to help the battle with the fires. Shout out to Mexico for that. And by January 13th, it was officially announced that the death toll was at least 24 people. And that is only the amount confirmed. Because of the fires, they're not able to go and check and see if there's any other people that were harmed or injured in any way. Now, due to this, it forced, and this is only day 7. So after 1 week, it forced nearly 180,000 people to evacuate, and it destroyed or damaged more than 12,401 structures. So far, the Eaton fire has been the deadliest. And I think that's partially because if you look here, right, we'll go close. The Eaton fire has this whole this whole residential area and then land, whereas the Palisades fire, if you look right here, I think part of the reason why this is so big is majority of this is land. So I'm very worried about the wildlife, the animals there, but it's not as much residential in comparison. Now, the Eaton fire, confirmed, has caused 16 people to be unalived, whereas the Palisades fire is at 8. And of course, this number is only an estimate. It is not the confirmed amount. So by this time, most of the damage has been done by the 2 largest fires, which is once again the Palisades and the Eaton fire. Now, I wish that was the end of it, but there were more fires coming in on the 13th, which was just 2 days ago, Monday. So we had 3 new fires start, which is the Miramar fire in San Diego, around 15 acres, the Jurupa fire in Riverside, which was 2 acres, and you see how on this map we have the auto fire right here. I'm going to just zoom in. This one is ongoing. It's in Ventura. It's around 61 acres, ongoing. And as of yesterday, 47% of it was contained. So almost halfway, just like the Eaton fire. It's at 45, so is the auto fire at 45, but of course it's not as big as the Eaton fire. Now, January 10th, we only had 1 fire show up, and that was the... Where am I? That was... Oh, I'm sorry. So January 14th, which was Tuesday, and also day 8 of this, we've only been a week, we're getting on our second week. Surprisingly, despite the critical risk of fire weather throughout the whole week, January 13th and January 14th had extremely critical fire risk, where, like I said, the rest of the days, except for, I believe, the 7th and the 8th, which is when the fires did start, January 13th and 14th, those are the only times, to my knowledge, that had an extremely critical fire risk instead of critical fire risk. And on those days, 3 fires started, which is the Palmo Fire in San Diego, which was 3.5 acres, the Scout Fire Riverside, which was 2.6 acres, and Stone, which was Riverside, 1.5 acres. And by yesterday, January 15th, day 9 of these wildfires, the LA wildfires, California wildfires, by this time the death toll had increased officially to 25, but they kind of mark it off as 25 plus because, once again, it's very hard to go into certain areas to check if anybody was caught, anybody was trapped, or anything like that. So yeah, at this current moment there are about five fires ongoing. The Auto Fire, which just started, it's about 45% contained. The Creek, which is about 90% contained. Those two seem to be very small. The Hearst Fire, which is about 97% contained. Hopefully that's completed by tomorrow or even later today. But the two biggest fires and the most damaging fires, once again, are the Eaton and the Palisades Fire, particularly the Palisades, which only has 19% contained, whereas everything else is roughly around halfway, if not more than halfway. Now, I did want to show you this Joe Rogan clip, because Joe Rogan did mention on his channel that there was anticipated. So let me see.
Fire department, he said, it's just going to be a matter of time. There's going to be one day where a fire hits LA and the wind is the right way and we're not going to be able to stop it. It's just going to burn right through to the ocean. He goes, it's just a matter of time. We all know it. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? I go, the whole city? He goes, the whole city.
So that was apparently 6 months or so before these fires happened. Now, the estimates published on January 9th said that due to these fires, the damages were projected to exceed 20 billion. And then by January 12th, the damages cost predictions were estimated to be about 135 billion, and then by January 13th it was 250 to 275 billion for all the damages that are going on within the city of California, within the state of California. Now, during the fires, I do want to speak about this. It is mentioned by a lot of people that prior to these fires, home insurance was canceling fire insurance was being canceled on homes. It was being ended. Many people, due to this, suspect that, once again, it's a conspiracy theory that they were aware that fires could possibly be happening and they were canceling everybody's fire insurance, which, if that is the case, then a whole bunch of home owners, a whole bunch of renters or whatever, they are pretty much assed out. Because they're not going to get any money in order to rebuild. They pretty much just lost everything. Now, one of the horrible things that I heard throughout this is that during the LA fires, or during now, including now, LA area landlords raised the cost of rent substantially, roughly an average around 15 to 20%, with many rents doubling. And then this in itself violates California's price gouging laws, which prevents an increase of more than 10% in an emergency. Now, for me personally, I'm just like, why are people even raising the price in a crisis? It's a crisis. People already have lost everything, and now you're going to raise the price just so that way they could have some shelter. I think that's horrible. That's horrible. And you know what's interesting about this? It's not even like people who have Airbnbs or homeowners that are renting. It's also hotels, straight businesses doing this as well. So for instance, some hotels offer discounted rates. Those hotels, if I could ever find a list, I will find it. But those hotels offer discounted rates, whereas other hotels increase their rates even for the people already booked. So let's say you're going to California during this time. It's New Year, first vacation of the year. You're staying in a hotel, having a good time, only to find out because of these fires, they raised the rates. And even though you weren't anticipating it, even though it was expected, and you already had your room booked, your rates increased. That is like so low. It's a fire, guys. It's a crisis, and that's like if it's a zombie apocalypse and you go to a hotel and you go there to hide and they're like, oh, well, you gotta pay first. No, that's dumb. Your money doesn't mean anything right here. Anyways, horrible. Now, there are several reports of individuals looting evacuated houses. Remember, I told you guys I would bring up the looting. And as of January 13th, at least 29 people have been arrested for looting. And two of those people were caught posing as firefighters to steal from evacuees. Do you know how horrible you have to be to steal from people that are trying to evacuate? Like, or even... And the thing that blows my mind is like, these fires are not contained. You could be like, let's say 5 miles down from a place where people are evacuating, or even more, let's say 10. But then who knows, in a day or two, that fire could be at your place and everything you stole is now gone. It makes absolutely no sense how some people are just focused on financing their own pockets in the middle of a crisis. The other thing that kind of blew minds is that some wealthy citizens were able to hire private sector firefighters to prevent damage to their property. I believe Kim Kardashian is the one under fire for doing this. And I'll say this, my only issue with this is those private sector guys, it's not like, oh, we're gonna go help with the fire, and then if the fire come close to you, we'll go there. No, they're like practically stationed around there just to protect that person's home. I wish everybody could do that. And there has been a lot of discord on social media, pretty much saying like, all these rich people who had their homes burnt down, at least they can afford to buy a new one. And of course, the discord to that is, okay, but they lost all these memories. These memories, they're not going to get it back. Personally, for me, it's like a double-sided, it's bad both ways. Yes, they can't get the memories back, but also compared to the average Joe, they can actually buy a new house. Or if they're extra wealthy, they have another house already. Whereas a lot of people, that was their only home, and now they have nothing. Actually, let me see if I could pull up. So this guy right here, he's the one that's been on the news, and the important thing to say about this is these fires happened early morning, roughly 9-10 a.m. is when these fires started breaking out. It happened on a work day, a business day. So a lot of people were at work. A lot of people were not able to go home, get clothes, get their pets. A lot of pets were left behind, but it was not intentional. A lot of these people were at work, couldn't go back. Like this gentleman here, I'm going to play it, but he was at work. He ran. He tried to go get his dogs. They would not let him into the place to get his dogs. So there have been many comments on social media like, oh, he abandoned his pets. No, he did not. A lot of people did it. They were at work and they were not allowed to go to get their pets. So let's play this.
I've been trying to get to my house for 5 hours. I literally rescued them off the street. They deserve better than... I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. How do I get to my house? It's 𝘮𝘩𝘫𝑗𝑗𝑗. It's 𝘮𝘩𝘫𝑗𝑗. It's 𝘮𝘩𝘫𝑗𝑗. Hi, Boo-Boo. How's the fire? Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, my God. We're alive. We're alive. Oh, honey. Oh, wow.
So that's one person that fortunately was able to get their pets back. Both his dogs are both alive. How that actually happened is he did try to go to his house. Firefighters stopped him. He was able to get one of his dogs. The other dog like ran away hiding, and because his area, everything burnt down, he was able to go there because the fire wasn't active in that area, and he found his pets. I'm gonna just go through some videos. So some people are getting great shots. I do think this is probably a drone shot or something, but the fires were ridiculous and going over. Let me see if I could replay this. There's more views of the fires going on here. A lot of people are informing their friends, families that they're okay via social media. We have the devastation, the aftermath. If you guys can see, this is after everything's burnt down. And you know what I'm thinking of? Like, you remember the fires that happened in Hawaii and how after that a whole bunch of people lost their land, and then other people who didn't even live there but definitely had the money, richer people, went and bought up that land, or companies bought up that land, etc. So I'm actually kind of wondering if a lot of these homeowners will eventually lose their land, and especially if they cut off fire insurance, they might not even get anything. And as much as I don't even think they're the owners of the land or anything like that, that's why it's a sad day. It's very, very sad. Let me see, does this one work? Nope. And then some people are, of course, bringing up the conspiracy theories. Sorry. I'm trying to reload. But pretty much a lot of people are saying these fires were expected, and to an extent some people feel like it was intentional and it was planned because companies were already prepped. Certain companies were already prepped and aware of what to do and how to avoid certain things prior to these fires happening. And then I'm just going to show this. This is from, I believe, 𝘰𝑗𝑗.org. But pretty much they're trying to help, especially with animals and with people. You know, there's a small animal evacuation center in Westwood. This is one. It's open to evacuees except small animals. Large animal evacuation center is the 𝘬𝑒quitarian Center in LA. So one's for small animals, one's for big animals, I guess for more space and things like that. Then there's veterinary care if you need it. They're including complimentary boarding for evacuated dogs and cats. Stray, lost animals, if you find any. Yogi's house is helping to see if there's a way to do it. Some celebrities are fostering, some people are fostering. Like, for instance, if you watch Love Island Season 6, 𝘰𝑗𝑗 has been helping to foster and helping spread the news about where things are going. Angelina Jolie has been taking care of the people around her in her area. Her kids are also helping. There's a lot of news about that. If you need supplies, this is contact Samson Sanctuary. This is their contact, and this is a way to help. Pet-friendly hotels. The Hyatt is helping. 259 waived fees. They're waiving the fees. These are discounted rates. So Hyatt Centric is helping. Ocean View Hotel, Pierside Hotel, all of them are helping. These ones are doing discounted rates. Please check to see if your hotel, if that's where you're going, is doing an increased rate. If it is, just chill out in the lobby until you can find somewhere else that is actually looking to help people instead of trying to profit off of other people's crisis. And then for other people, if you're not in an evacuation zone, you may still have poor air quality. This is a time when people really need the N95 mask or even a gas mask. At this point, I think with everything going on, the N95 mask, the little paper kind of mask that you put on your face, might not even be the best. But definitely the ones where they have the filter system kind of on it might be good. Or even, I know there's like now even the new scuba mask that is portable and it has a little tank attached to the side that you could always refill. That might actually be the wave, to get one of those scuba masks, because then you have your own oxygen tank there, and that would probably help. And then pretty much also Yogi's house is also giving like, hey guys, even if you're not in the area that needs evacuation, still have a plan. Have your bag and pet supplies or your animal needs all together. Keep ID tags and collars on your pets at all times. Have a crate ready if you need. And also, I personally do recommend, like, even now, getting air tags or air tag dupes, putting it on your people if possible, especially if you have little kids. Write their names, write your phone number, their phone number, write their address in Sharpie or something. And then even if you have a relative that is not in LA or in California at all, write their contact as well, because if they can't reach you, at least they can reach somebody that you know is not anywhere close to the fires that are going on. And then also, this place is from the Stand Up for Pits Foundation. They are offering free hotel rooms for displaced families with pets. And then they said they'll fund 20 hotel rooms for 3 days for displaced pets and families. So hopefully people can all come together for that. Yeah. So, and also the Rose Bowl in Pasadena is also helping with evacuation shelters, especially for people with animals as well. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena is offering shelter for people with large animals, and then the Pasadena Humane Society is helping for people with smaller animals. So I do hope that these fires continue to be, or soon all the fires will be contained. I am thinking that the creek, which is 90%, would hopefully be contained by end of day. And then with the Auto and the Hearst and Eaton, because those are both roughly at the 50% or more for containment, that they are settled, and then everybody could just focus on handling the Palisades fire. I do hope that all the animals, especially the ones living in the wildlife, particularly in the Palisades area, because a lot of that is wildlife destroyed, I do hope those animals are okay. I hope all these people are okay. And if anybody knows of any organizations or anybody, even other people willing to help, please put it all down in comments below. I will try to link them, try to help in any possible way that I can. But for now, we are just watching it. As I said, 2 of the ongoing fires are at 50%. One, the Hearst fire, which was one of the biggest, is at 90%, 97% contained, and then the Palisades is the least contained, but hopefully it can all be taken care of soon. So guys, please, please, please look out for each other, because at the end of the day, if it's a crisis, you will want somebody to help you too, instead of taking advantage of you. So, bye guys. And my prayers are with LA and everybody, everything going on.